I'm finally here. Looks like my eyes look very dark. I'm thinking that's because of the lighting, which is all fluorescent from up above, which means I probably look pretty much like crap. Looks like crap on this side. Didn't sleep well last night. It is what it is. But I was very happy where I was. If you looked at the pictures, I was at the, what the heck is it called? I forgot now. It was at a motel from the day on 66, Munson Moss Motel. That's what it was. And actually, it opened the year I was born. So it and I are 72 years old. How do you like that? So I went there, and I went there for a reason, because I'm trying to get this so I look more in your eyes. There we go. Because it's said to be haunted, and Sammy and I love to go places that are haunted. So I went there, and I didn't have any interesting paranormal experiences, not with Sammy anyway. I did have a very interesting thing happen. I woke up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, wide awake, couldn't sleep, tried to sleep, and I had a cookie because cookies help, and a little water, and went back to bed and fell asleep. And I dreamed that my little sister had gotten into bed with me, and it was totally real. It was totally real. And I looked over and I went, "Oh my God, it's you." And I reached out to touch her, and she was gone. And she is gone. She's on the other side now. So that was kind of like, might not be haunted to some people, but it means a lot to me. So I kind of got that visit with her. And so this hotel, the reason I couldn't post earlier is this motel is vintage. Look at the pictures when you get a chance. And one of the interesting points is that it has just the dual plugs, not the 3-prong plugs, so I couldn't plug in my computer. Well, there was one in the bathroom, but I think it still only gets the lower amount of voltage or whatever, and my computer never really charged, and my phone charged so slow it was ridiculous. But I will not complain because it was such a lovely place and such a fun experience. And so let me tell you about my day yesterday. You remember I told you the first thing I was going to do was go to the Black Madonna, the Shrine of the Black Madonna. And I thought, well, that's going to be wonderful. And when I looked at my GPS, it said it was 28 miles away. And I thought, well, surely there's got to be something closer. And I looked up the other, historic sites that I wanted to see, and they were all so far away. So I said, oh, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get back on 66, and I'm going to stick to 66. And I tried so hard. Well, the next thing on my list that showed up was Staunton and the Jesse James Wax Museum. So I said, okay, that's where I'm headed. And they put me back on the highway, and I couldn't get off, and so I kept going. I'm getting off this highway. Well, finally, I came to Staunton, and then I realized that all the sites, that the Shrine of the Black Madonna was 25 miles away. And I had to go back and backtrack, and I said to myself, am I going to backtrack? Am I not going to backtrack? And finally I said, no, I want to go to that one, and I'm going to backtrack. Interestingly enough, I went back and I backtracked, and I finally got there. And the 28 miles away, it wasn't just like it was 28 miles away on 66. It was like 26 miles away from 66. But when I got back on 66, I found the attractions that I thought I had missed. And so I found, it was called the Old Truck Stop. And then I found, it was called the Tri-County Truck Stop. I found the Gateway Motel. I went and I took some pictures around these places, and went right up to the windows and shot through the window, and saw that it looked very much like Grandview Manor in its time, with the mattresses and debris, not hoarder stuff like we had, but mattresses, debris, and stuff like that. And so then I went to the sunset. I really wanted to see the sunset, and that was quite an adventure because I was taking pictures. A couple doors were open, so I went in and I took pictures inside, and was going around, headed like toward where the office was. All of a sudden, I heard an air conditioner running. Now, the place is closed. There's no doubt about it, but somebody's living there. it did give me the thought that why don't they just have the places renovated for some kind of housing for the homeless? Because there's a lot of it. There's a lot of it everywhere. In fact, I just went by a Budget Inn, and I thought it was abandoned. It looked pretty bad. And as I drove by, I saw there were people sitting there. That must be either really triple cheap, or they have it as some sort of a residence of some sort. But when I heard that air conditioner running, I said, shoot, I better get out of here. I didn't want to be right on here. And so I left there. But that was that thing. I was more determined than ever there to stick on 66. And see, the thing is, it'll be 66, but it'll be like 66 and 44, 66 and 55 that run together for a while, and they don't run together for a while. So you're kind of like going like this. And of course, I was mega afraid of winding up somewhere where I didn't know where I was. So back on my path, which I was now familiar with, I made it to the Jesse James Museum, which is open, but it was closed then. It wasn't late in the day. It was just closed that day. And there was an antique toy museum next to that, and then a motel that was not on the list that is for sale. And you think, gee, I wish somebody'd buy that. And, maybe we can get Route 66 excitement going again. Because last night, it was so fun to have that taste of the past. And I remember that past because I was there. And we stayed in places like that when we went to Florida and stuff. I don't think we ever went that far west. So after I did the Jesse James place, I wound up on, I wanted to go back. Back to the Shrine of the Black Madonna, which they're all white. But I did find a black one. I did. And it made me wonder, why do we have to have, our saints and Jesus and everything, our God, be white? And of course, it's like that movie, Oh God, which if you haven't seen it, oh God, you should see it, with George Burns. And he says to John Denver at that point, John Denver says, you can't be God, you're an old man with a baseball cap. Sorry, this is in a grocery store Starbucks, so you're going to get a little feedback there. So anyway, George Burns / God says to him, I came in a way you could understand me. If we could all know that about it, God comes in a way that we can understand God, and we do want a God with skin on, as a little girl once said, but let's just know that we can't limit, our parameters for God. So I was there, and it was hot, and I was running around and doing my thing. And they had a little shrine area where it was a chapel, and they had candles. Now, back in the day, they'd have a little donation box. You put your donation in, and you light a candle. Well, here, that wasn't the situation. They had a note that said you can, get candles from the gift shop. So I said, well, fine. I think it's sad that they can't use donation boxes. Apparently, people decide to take advantage of that by taking the money or taking the candles without putting it, whatever. So I headed to the gift shop, and it was closed. Well, it said open, but the door was locked. So it said, ring bell, and you can hear it ring in the trailer. There was a trailer there that someone must live. So I rang the bell, and nobody came. And I rang the bell again, and nobody came again. And by this time I was getting a little frustrated because the whole thing was very spiritual for me because of Sammy having passed 4 months ago that day. And I thought, how perfect to light a candle for her. And I wished I'd had a candle in my car, and I didn't have a candle in my car. And then as I went to my car, crying all the way, and I thought, it really doesn't matter because God is everywhere present just because a person isn't anywhere. And then I was inspired to ask a huge favor of you. And it doesn't matter what day you do it. It doesn't matter whether you do it day or night. But I would be extremely honored if sometime, especially in the next 24 hours, you would light a candle and hold Sammy and me and Peter and Tristan, our little family, in prayer because we're the ones that were hardest hit by her loss. And if you would, I know, everyone that knows her, everyone that knows her was hit, especially like, God bless you, Nicole, for the way you did your thing during our memorial. But anyway, if you would light a candle, and I would be especially delighted if you might take a picture of the candle or yourself with a candle and post it so I can get a visual that you are praying with me. So if you would think of that, that would be really, really meaningful. Okay, so back to where we were. I was determined to stay on 66, and let's see. Oh, so when I was going back to the Jesse James Museum, I came upon a gentleman that was sitting at the intersection with a sign that said, "We'll work for food." And you know how I feel about that. And at that time, I was eating a banana. So there I am eating, and there's this guy that says, "We'll work for food." I just, my heart went out to him. And I'm trying to fish, and I didn't have any small money in my purse. I was like, ah. So I sadly pulled across the highway, and then there was a park and ride right there. I pulled in the park and ride, and I called him across the highway, and I said, if you're safe getting across the highway, I have extra food. And he came over. God bless him. It was like 6 lanes across, but it wasn't a lot of traffic. So, but I prayed, don't let him come get my food and get hit by that. That would make me feel great. But you remember, I packed food to take with me, and I'm not eating at a great clip, and so I have more, and I can get more easily enough. So I gave him a couple of things of applesauce and crackers and breakfast cookies and stuff like that, things that would need to be heated or not, because I didn't know what his situation was. Well, so that was very good, and we talked a little bit. His name is Donnie, and I prayed, keep him on your prayer list. And I prayed with him and asked him to pray with me. So that was a good drive, pray, heal experience. And then I went back on my way. And I was sticking to 66. And at one point, I wound up off of 66. Now, it wasn't really my fault, as it were. And so I'm driving along, and it says to go 10 miles on this road. And so I'm cool. I'm driving. All of a sudden, I come to a this way, that way turn. And I had no choice. And I'm going, well, which way am I supposed to turn? And I pulled over and found out that my GPS had gone out. And I'm like, oh, dear God. And it said I was offline. So well, isn't that interesting? And so I went and I found a place to pull over safely and looked at my map, which didn't help a lot because I didn't know where I was. How could I look at a map when I didn't know where I was? So what I did, thank you. Thank you, Linda. And so I have a little, on my rear view mirror, there's a little compass thing. It says what direction you're going. So I said, oh, good. And I followed it. As long as it was saying west or southwest, I figured I was doing the right thing. And eventually I came to a roadside. When I say eventually, I mean it took a while. And a while is relative. When you're lost, you're not sure where you are, a short while can be a very long while. But I drove along and pulled over when I saw the sign. It was for a place called Crocker. And, oh, good. So I looked at the map and I found out where Crocker, was, and I took that turn. So I eventually got to Crocker and I came to another turn. Oh, my God, where am I going? And I looked at the map. And so in any event, as long as I stayed southwest, used my map, I eventually, thank you, God, got my GPS back. I was so thrilled. And I made it to the motel, which was very cute and very sweet. And I left a rock there. That's how good and sweet it was. Of course, when I this morning I got up to have coffee, you had to go get it. There was no microwave, no refrigerator in the room. You're really on your own. And so, and it was very cheap. It was $50. That included the tax and everything. I was a very happy camper or moteler. So I go and I'm chit-chatting with the lady, and the first thing she does is get involved in a political discussion. Well, you know how hard that is for me to keep my mouth shut and behave. And but I did, and but I took a very, I spoke my truth, I spoke it with love, and in a way that I don't think she was offended. And I spoke more beyond politics about people, and she seemed to be okay with that. And it was just delightful. And at one point I said, I hope I don't offend you. My mind, and that was when I got gas. I went in, and the man said, have a nice day," and I said, "I will, you too." And he said, "It's just going too slow." And I thought, dear God, don't let your day go slow. I'm going to cut off. I got a call from my cubby, so I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.